of course.
Okay, good. So you agree that we can establish what the radius of that circle is? We can establish its diameter. We can establish its circumference.
Right. What we're doing here, though, is drawing circles and then doing a bit of maths. That's what you're doing, right?
Photograph. It's a photograph.
Right, but it's not a photograph, though. I think that's where you're mistaken. No. So you're saying hang on. You're saying that this satellite is taking snapshots, like photographs, and it's not sending data to somebody who receives this data and then interprets that data and then makes an image out of that data. You're saying it's a straight photograph like you would any camera, and then you get film out of this camera. Is that because that's what the audience is hearing right now?
Not film. It's data. It's
right. Camera. So yeah, but it's not. You're not going to get images like that. You're getting data. According to the Globe, I'm just following the paradigm so that we can get everything kind of down the line as to how this is being established from the Himawari 8. It's not a snapshot. This is data. It's data that somebody's receiving and then interpreting it as a image.
No,
it's not.
It's a 16-channel camera.
Okay.
And of course, just like any digital camera, the digital information is in terms of digital information that's sent via radio to the receiver.
All right. So, how did this satellite get into a place where something cannot exist? This medium cannot exist.
What medium can't exist?
The vacuum of space, of course.
What vacuum?
Well, when you actually send a satellite into low Earth orbit, it has to leave the Earth's atmosphere. And by way of a rocket that's going to use a parabolic curve around the Earth 3 times so it could gain escape velocity so that it could actually leave the Earth's atmosphere so that it could drop these supposed satellites there. So how is it that this medium, the vacuum of space in which this satellite is in, actually exists?
It'd probably be useful if you just stop using the word vacuum and just say space. That'll be fine.
Well, space is something. Yeah, space is something that I could define as something between me and you. So, to be a little bit more specific, right? When you actually leave the Earth's atmosphere, because they would consider there to be a specific stopping point, right? The Kármán line. After you exit the Earth's atmosphere, then you're actually in low Earth orbit. So, in order for
it's actually not specific.
Well. So this medium that this satellite is in, taking this image,
mm-hmm.
How do we know that medium exists?
We put satellites there.
Okay, so you're telling a story right now that something is going there, but there's no way that anybody that's listening could verify that information because this medium supposedly is in a place that cannot be in reality.
Why not?
Because we have pressure here, the air that we're breathing, and it's adjacent to the supposed low pressure system, which is what you consider space, but I call it the vacuum of space. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we have a high pressure system next to a low pressure system without the gas dispersing into the available space with this supposed satellite? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, we're defying the laws of nature, sir.
Which law of nature?
Entropy. What are the law?
Oh my God!
Are you not a
stupid?
Are you not a professor? Like, I mean, this should be something that you should be able to tell your students.
To establish your knowledge.
You teach kids? Are you serious?
No, I don't teach kids. I teach adults.
If you have a high pressure system next to a low pressure system, what would happen if you do not have it? If you do not have that high pressure system, becomes uncontained from whatever container it's in. It will disperse.
It depends on all sorts of forces that are involved.
Well, it doesn't depend. This is what's going to happen always. It will disperse into the lower pressure system always.
Really?
Why doesn't
Professor
Phil, if your air conditioner is on in your house and you open the door, what's going to happen? Yes, Professor Phil, you need to keep the door closed.
Wait a minute. What forces are in play? What force is containing the gas?
Let's just finish with Miggy, please. Okay.
Go ahead.
Miggy's doing a good job.
So have
Okay,
we established? Have we established how we can have that? Go ahead.
And may I also add that I like the way that you do talk to people, because you're a respectful person. So I'll continue talking to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Miggy, if you consider at the bottom of a mountain you have a much higher pressure than at the top, why is it that why doesn't the pressure at the bottom the gas at the bottom rush to the top of the mountain?
Gas is always in motion. It's always in motion, right?
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. So why doesn't it rush to the why at any time you go to the top of the mountain, you're going to need some apparatus to breathe?
It's a graduated system.
Yes, you get right about it.
Right. So we're talking about the dynamic system in which we live, the air that what's that?
Yeah. You said, sorry, I didn't, I shouldn't have interrupted you. You said that always, you used the word that higher pressure would always move to lower pressure. Always, you said.
Yes, if it's not contained. If it's not contained.
If it's not contained. And yet you have just admitted that at the bottom of the mountain, the high pressure doesn't move to the top.
Okay, we're still talking. Yeah, we're still in a container right now. Okay, so the graduated system that you're in right now is contained. So this is where we start with. In order to have pressure, you need to have a container to start with. So you can't have pressure without a container. Who said this is just the laws of nature?
No, it's not. You just make it up.
No, it's not. No, I didn't make it up. How can you? Okay, so how can you attain Professor Phil? How can you attain pressure if you do not have a container?
What do you need the container for?
To attain pressure.
You've got the mass of the gas.
The mass of the gas.
No. The mass of the gas doesn't bring the gas back. Gas disperses in all directions, and the gas doesn't stop itself from going anywhere.
Overall, the gas has mass.
No, it doesn't. Phil. That's just
sorry, but your is not going to help.
What's up, Adam?
Evening, guys.
Phil.
That's naughty, isn't it? That's.
I want to talk to Mickey, please.
Individually, if you was to add up, then let's ignore the misnomer of mass. If you were to add them all up, you could say collectively they had a mass, but that's not a gas, is it? Where are you grabbing them from? Why are you trying to attribute collectiveness to an individual particle?
You don't think I could measure the mass of gas?
No, we did this before and you ran off. At the point, where you was going to inflate so much helium into the balloon that it was heavy enough to weigh, even though that wouldn't weigh it because it made it liquid. That point, and you ran off then.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Pain you often try to forget.
Okay, Miggy, do you want
to... Point being, mate, yeah?
There's more stuff to discuss with Miggy. Okay?
Carry on.
Yeah. Sorry. I just noticed backflipping. I know Adam to be very trustworthy, and I can probably take on his point that you haven't uttered something and running away, and now you're running away again. The question was pretty valid. Yeah, I know.
I'm still here.
Okay, thanks, mate. Just let's see if we can talk, and the other people can just be quiet while we talk. All right?
Sounds good with me.
Okay, excellent.
But this is an open forum, so I'm just letting you know right now. So somebody jumps in.
Yeah, all right. So, Miggy, I'm not...
Phil, I think, respectfully, mate, the point when people jumped in was, and people are being respectful, was when you said something so outrageous that it really, you shouldn't be carrying on the conversation.
Why can't Miggy deal with that?
Without it being challenged.
Miggy's pretty smart. He can deal with that. He doesn't need you.
You're not going to convince Mickey. Whatever sales technique or method you're trying, you're not going to convince Mickey. Talk about it here. Adam is as calm as Mickey. You can talk to both of them.
I'm not trying to convince anybody. and I certainly have no delusions about convincing you.
Yeah, but as he said, it's a public forum, isn't it? It's a public forum, and Miggy was doing.
I'm just trying
obviously
to.
You're not here to. Obviously, you're not here to learn what we've discovered. Right? You're here to try to convince people that you're crazy for believing the Earth is flat. That's what you've been saying when you first got here. Say it. That's what you've been doing.
All right. Let's try and get it back on point at least, and get the side bit. But let's get it back on point. Let's destroy that. So massive gas. Whoever wants to take that, Adam or Miggy, I don't care. Massive gas.
Well, it's not just anybody. I'm talking to Miggy. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can talk to me if you want, but we're still on that particular topic you brought up. So
yeah. So I just want to explain to you. So Miggy, let's just establish this. I'm here to explain what I think and what I believe. Okay. So I'm not trying to convince you. Is that okay?
Go ahead and tell me what we were on a point right now, so I think it's good to kind of keep going where we're at.
Yeah, so I agree. So what I wanted to explain to you is why I think that the gas doesn't disperse into space.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So all gas particles, molecules or atoms, the reason that they move around is because they have energy. Otherwise, they wouldn't move. They need energy to move. So what happens is the higher up you go, the more of that energy they lose. So they get less and less energy. They move around.
Why?
That's bullshit.
Can we just have Miggy?
Can we?
No. Why?
Why? Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Evening, John. You all right?
Yeah, he's fucking full of shit.
So the further up, I'm telling you what I believe. You don't have to accept it.
Shut up! You're the dumbest person in here. Let Adam speak.
And now that you won't accept it.
Phil, we didn't say it's not true. We asked why. What's the reason for you?
I'm trying to explain all of that.
Well, then it would be reasonable just to have answered the why point initially, wouldn't it?
Just wait till I've finished what I'm saying.
No. You said that gas molecules lose their energy. Where do gas molecules get their energy from? Kinetic energy?
The heat from the sun.
The temperature, right?
And the temperature of the ground.
The temperature, right? So as they go up higher, have you heard of the thermosphere by chance?
And bouncing from other...
Have you heard of the thermosphere by chance?
Let me explain why
what is the temperature of the thermosphere, Phil?
Let me explain why.
No, you're not explaining. You just contradicted yourself.
I'm not interested in talking to you. You told me not to talk to you.
You just contradicted yourself. You are a numpty dipshit.
Can I just finish talking to Miggy, please?
Why?
Because I want to.
You're either dumb or you're lying.
Can I speak to Miggy, please?
Go ahead, Miggy. Miggy's going to tell you the same thing.
All right. So it doesn't matter if Miggy tells me the same thing. I just want to speak to Miggy. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So as gas particles get higher, they lose their energy, and they lose more and more of their energy. And the higher they go, the more that gravity actually overcomes.
Phil, quick question, Phil. Is energy rate proportional to height? Or is it just coincidental that at some points when you're a bit higher, they might have less energy, and at some points they might have more energy when they're even higher, and then later on, less energy? Or is height a relationship in some way causative, you might suggest? Is that what you're implying?
It's certainly a correlation. Yes.
Correlation. What, is it a straight linear correlation, or is it a wobbly line?
No, it's not.
Or
it's
is
not
it a curved line?
It's curved. It's not linear.
No, if you look in chat, someone's put it up for you. It's a wobbly line.
It's not linear. Okay. Now,
I didn't say it was, but I've just proved that your point and your understanding is incorrect.
Yeah. So at some point,
wholly incorrect.
So there is a
carry on.
There is a point where where the
Phil, are you just gonna walk? Are you just gonna walk past that? You're not gonna acknowledge what Adam said to you.
I'm trying to explain to you what I think. You can accept it.
Oh my goodness! What a shocking.
Nobody cares what you think.
Fine, that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah, but nobody cares what you think. If you have something, what you empirical, say that. Whatever I can speak about Brad now, man, and who cares?
I want to speak to Miggy, please.
You can speak with Miggy. Can you give some argument? I'm not with Miggy.
I'm not speaking to you, whoever you are.
You're not speaking with me, really?
No.
Let's get some orders back to the conversation at least.
So Miggy asked me a question. Miggy asked me a question, and I'm trying to.
Okay, you was wrong now 5 minutes ago, and you don't want to concede. You want Miggy.
I've never been wrong. Okay.
Miggy, are you still there, buddy? Do you want to hold this guy's hand?
Right. So
now
we're talking. Yeah. Now we're talking about why gas is not escaping the global Earth paradigm, right? You're saying because it loses energy as it's going up.
Yeah, and eventually, gravity overcomes the little energy that it does have.
All right, so gravity becomes the container. Is that what you're saying, Phil?
If you want to put it that way, I'm happy with that.
All right, so at that point, we're talking about no gas escapes because of what you described.
Definitely not. Gas escapes all the time. Gas does escape. Yes.
So does it escape or does it not? I'm sorry. Does it escape or does it not escape?
It does.
So it does escape.
Yeah.
As an analogy, Phil, then is this gas
about 90 tons a day?
What's that? How much?
About 90 tons a day.
Okay, so I'm really right now. I'm just listening to what you have to say about this because I'm still thinking about what Adam said, and there seem to have a really good point. But so you're saying 90 how much? 90 tons?
Tons, yes, per day.
All right. So who's measuring this, Phil?
It's like, this people. Lots of people who monitor atmosphere and climate and stuff like that.
Sorry, it's a bit vague. Was there anybody specific that does this? Like meteorologists? Like
NOAA. NOAA. Just answer. That's his answer.
Well,
no, I want him to. Who? NASA?
Yeah, NASA would be one of those people who have the resources to do that. Yeah.
What is the apparatus they're using to actually find this information out? What are they using to detect? So that information.
I don't specifically know how they do that.
Okay. So we don't. Okay, sorry. We don't know how they're getting this information, but we just know that they're giving it to us about 90 tons a day.
That's what they say, yeah.
All right. But we don't know that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I could have a look at their paper that describes how they do it and see if I agree with it. But at this stage, I've got no reason not to disagree. I've got no reason to disagree with them.
All right. So, well, I'm going to roll back.
It's theoretical. It's theoretical, yeah. It's not a measured amount. It's a calculated amount based on the trajectory of hydrogen and helium atoms, which the analogy you're painting is it's a bit like the guy in the desert when he fires a bullet up in the air and up it goes until it reaches a point, and you're saying it hits that point and then back down it comes because gravity makes this container that it bounces against. It's this complete total loss of kinetic energy that causes a return and an opposite vector.
Well, Adam, it almost sounds like Phil's.
Whatever you said obviously points to the fact that you know nothing about projectile motion.
All right. So from whatever he said, Adam, it sounds like he's saying that on the global Earth paradigm, we got some air actually escaping, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's actually leaving.
No, I wanted to get to that. That's fine. It's fine. But they're the black swans, aren't they? They're the exceptions to the rule, aren't they, Phil? But most of them follow the pattern I've just described, apparently. Yeah. But you get some of them, that magic number that you pulled out your arse, the amount per day that escapes the atmosphere.
Some particles
they're the ones that break the general rule of the new way in which gases behave, which is against the second law and against gas behavior, but has to be the way gases must behave if we live on a ball. Is that not correct?
There's nothing against the second law of thermodynamics, if that's what you're talking about.
What? So would you say that?
Show me gravity affecting the kinetic energy of a gas molecule, then.
Oh, any time. Cool the gas molecule down until it becomes a solid.
No, gravity affecting the kinetic energy. It's got to be slowing it, hasn't it? It's got to be stopping it, escaping.
Yeah, that's easy.
Show it me then.
Yeah. So consider the gas the amount of gas concentration at the bottom of a mountain compared to the gas concentration.
Concentration. Come on, that's rubbish. That's terrible.
You can say that as much as you like.
It's ingenuous.
You can live in your little cult as much as you like. Won't change anything.
Some might say.
Won't change anything.
I'd say.
You know what's weird? You think we live in a cult, and you think you don't live in a cult, even though all your beliefs are just beliefs. You know, that's
it's
weird.
A pretty big cult, then, isn't it?
All right. So where the air escapes, is there supposed to be a boundary? Is there some sort of boundary where the air is actually leaving and escaping into?
There is no fixed boundary. Those molecules that do, and particles that do have escape velocity, will just keep going.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's nothing to stop them after that.
So, don't see any reason not to believe there's.
Well, you just said that gravity was stopping them. Even if they escape the magical point where the bullet returns, the point where most of the particles go, what about those ones that do manage to get past? Surely they get pulled back eventually. Don't they get sucked to the moon on the way?
Once they have achieved escape velocity, they'll keep that velocity as long as they don't bump into something else.
And how many times a day?
What would their escape velocity be?
First law.
What would their escape velocity be?
Around 17,000 odd miles per hour.
17,000. So somehow, unlike all their friends, their other mates, other helium mates, who got slowed down to 0 and then start heading back down, they managed to keep going at 17,000.
They never to 0.
Yeah, they managed to keep doing it, but their mates don't. Is that right, Phil?
Yep, they might have been. They could be in the, because you're quite right. Somebody else, I think it was QE, mentioned the thermosphere. So in that area, any particles that are affected by the sun or whatever are quite likely to reach have enough escape velocity to get away.
So the thermosphere is likely to heat particles enough up to give them the kinetic energy to carry on their journey away from the Earth.
Some of them, yes. Others.
Once they've left, some of them. Why only some of them? What about the others that receive the same kinetic energy?
For whatever reason,
why don't they?
If for whatever reason they don't have escape velocity, they won't leave the
I don't think your mum finished your fairy tales here, Phil.
You can think.
What kinds of reasons?
Wait. Did you say for whatever reason?
What kinds of reasons?
Well, hang on. I think Adam. Yeah.
Heating, bouncing into other molecules.
Well, that's not a loss of kinetic energy because it's an elastic collision. So there'd be no change in their kinetic energy, would they, Phil, if it collided with another molecule? Carry on.
No, you're just talking rubbish. Learn some physics.
He's not talking rubbish. Wow. You're supposed to be a physics teacher. You're supposed to be a physics teacher. Everyone knows this.
Oh, my God.
That's why he's exasperated. Adam is the most calm person I know, and you got him off the reservation because of that last statement.
Yeah,
you are so full of shit. I'm surprised that you know the difference between yourself and a pipe wrench.
Yeah, sure.
I'm serious. Everything he said was correct.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes, everything.
Okay,
and you should know that.
we still have
Being
more
a
to
professor
discuss.
of physics, you should be teaching him. But he's teaching you.
He's not. He's an idiot.
I beg your pardon.
He's an idiot. Really.
I beg your pardon. I may not. Oi, daft lad, right? I may not have bothered in the route of academia, right, and sold my soul, yeah? But I'm perfectly well educated and I teach doctors postgraduate degree levels, cheeky arse, right? Don't come here pulling your guns out because you got a professorship.
And I teach people.
You can take away the legitimate points where I've just, as Nathan would say, teabagged you, yeah?
You've done nothing of the sort.
As if pulling out that you've got
done nothing of
some
the
kind
sort. You've made,
university education. What university is yours? What university are you affiliated with, Phil? Which big university? Mine's the University of Nottingham. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
No, because you're going to be like the University of back of a cornflakes packet, won't it?
Sure. Right. Okay. Whatever you think, you idiot.
Well, that's what you get for China.
You try pulling out academic honest.
Okay.
And if you want to go academic guns, I'll take you on because I've got just as big an academic gun as yours, little man. So don't try and obfuscate a point with that. It just shows how weak your argument is. Now carry on addressing the point that you were so admirably failing on.
Actually, no, I'm not.
So do you have a coherent rebuttal to anything Adam said, or just it's word salad?
You're a little cult.
Oh, just gonna cry.
Wow,
that's your problem, Phil.
That's pretty sad, bro. I mean, for a
carry on,
prof.
Let's carry on.
Made you sound like
carry
a
on.
box.
I want to ask a question.
Cracker Jack,
So all those
brother, we
all those
carrying
metric
on. You're a
tons
moron.
lost a day. All those metric tons lost per day for 4.54 billion years.
No. We're back to the elastic collisions and what Adam said. What
That's a
Adam
straw man
said.
fallacy,
There's no net
Phil.
loss of energy. They're elastic collisions. You said bullshit.
Is this what your flat Earth looks like?
That's a straw man
My
fallacy.
word.
God, here we go.
Fuck off.
But
Go
just-
back to your
What's
Cracker
wrong,
Jack.
Phil? Have you lost focus? Phil, you can't concentrate. What's wrong?
All he,
Yes or no?
Right?
all he
this what
said
your
in the
flat
last
Earth
two
looks like?
exchanges is nuh-uh,
Yeah, that's-
he's a straw man.
Yeah, it's a straw man.
Is this what your
Well,
flat
let's
Earth
just beat him about the head and shoulders, Professor Phil. Right? You looking in
Do you
live
think-
stream. You looking in live stream.
is this what
Introductory chemistry. And I quote, gas particles are constantly colliding with each other in the walls of their container. These collisions are elastic. That is, there is no net loss of energy from the collisions. Exactly what Adam said. This is
Of course, I agree with that.
introductory chemistry, sir.
Do you
I'm
think
not
the
dis-
earth is flat
I'm-
or
I'm-
round? What do you think, brother?
disputing that.
Wait a second.
Brother,
Do you think the earth is flat, guy? Shut up.
Oh, around, brother, you tell me now.
Hold on, I want Professor Phil to answer what has been put forward.
I'm muting everybody that's talking. Go ahead.
Is this what your flat Earth looks like?
Not a straw man.
Just
I
answer
answered
yes or no.
this.
You can say
No,
yes or
no, not a straw man. So no, not that, not any question to do with that. So back to this has been put forward to you.
no. I'm not interested.
Quite an arrangement, Adam.
Answer whether you answer the question whether or not this is the flat Earth.
This is interesting. Why wouldn't you answer the question though, Phil? Is it something that is damning to the argument that you're trying to put forward? I don't understand. Like,
Come on, it's a really good point, Phil. Why? What are the other reasons you've accepted that you might have made a mistake, that collisions with other gas molecules?
I haven't made a mistake.
A reason there are lots of kinetic energy.
I have not made a
They're
mistake.
going to gain that from the sun rays. So what other reasons are you suggesting? That's where we were before we went a little sideways. So let's carry on from there, Phil. What are the other reasons other than kinetic collisions?
Whether or not this is your flat Earth.
that's a straw man fallacy. Phil.
It's really weak.
So sad.
Yeah, it's a straw man
You can say
fallacy.
yes or no.
Nobody
You can
claims
say
that,
yes or
Phil.
no.
Yeah, the short answer is no. Everyone's going to say no.
Nobody's claiming that.
No.
Nobody's claiming that, but we're still like we started off trying to figure out. We started off trying to figure out if the Earth had any measurable curvature, and you brought the Himawari 8 photo. So we were trying to. Right.
That's more than enough. That's more than enough.
What I was trying to ask is, how did the Himawari 8 actually get into that place that you said is actually there? Right? No, I'm talking about how does it exist in that location? Because that location
on the rocket, Miggy. It went on a rocket. That's how it got there.
No, I understand that the whole globe Earth paradigm and how things are told to us, how things happen. But I'm asking you because supposedly you would be able to explain how gas pressure next to the vacuum of space is possible. And you were saying with your explanation,
I explained that to you.
You were telling me, but what I was getting to, and Adam and QE brought up some really good points, right?
No, they didn't.
So they didn't bring up any good points. You're saying that what they just put forward has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Very little.
So it does. So that's what I'm trying to establish. So very little means that it does, right? It does have something to do.
They're trying to compare gas pressure down here on Earth, on the ground, compared to atmospheric pressure.
We're talking about individual molecule behavior. Individual molecule behavior and its microstates available to it at these points of juncture that you're imagineering, like the juncture of the vacuum of space. Yeah? What are its available microstates to it? What's its kinetic energy? What are the path routes? What's the probability? What that predicts is standard gas behavior. That does not fit in your paradigm. And we're asking you to explain what are the reasons then outside of that. Now, you postulated other collisions with other gas particles, which we explained to you patiently, that gas particle collisions are kinetic, so there's no exchange of kinetic energy. So we're asking again, what are the other postulations for your reasoning to oppose gas behavior that you accept yourself? So what are the other reasons that's causing what can only be described as a generalized downward motion?
The most prolific reason why gas particles stay close to the Earth is gravity.
What?
Gravity.
John, I'll hand over.
We're not talking about close to the Earth. Adam was discussing high up in the atmosphere.
When I talk about close to the Earth, I'm talking about...
No, we're not talking about that. We'll get back to gravity here in a second. He told you, or you said, that the collisions of the molecules, they were losing energy. When Introductory to Chemistry already tells you that these are elastic collisions. I have the citation here about 50 times. Let me put it in here again.
I know the collision theory of chemistry. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it just sounds like you don't, sir.
Yes, I do. Much better than you.
Yeah. It sounds like it. You said they lost energy. This says that there is no net loss of energy from the collisions. They're elastic.
I know chemistry a lot better than you.
Yeah, you know chemistry. You don't know
graduate degrees in chemistry.
You wouldn't know chemistry if it landed on your face, spun around, and whistled Dixie.
You're a goddamn fool.
So we're back to the net loss of energy.
Again, Phil, if we're going to do that, I have a degree in pharmacy. Like I said, I also advise on the postgraduate courses and educate at the graduate level, which is, I would assume, with your physicsy, mechanicsy background, means academically, my chemistry trumps your chemistry. Would you agree?
No, it doesn't.
I think it does, doesn't it?
No, I've spent years.
Hey, I got real quick. I'm missing something here, Phil. You said that the gas pressure down at Earth is different than atmospheric pressure. Is the gas pressure that's on the Earth not atmospheric pressure?
Hey, do you teach at degree level? By the way, I'm not sure I'm talking to. Whoever just said that, they're above Phil's level as well.
I'm talking about gas pressure in a container.
You need a container for gas pressure.
Container?
Yeah, you do need. That's correct. You do need a container for gas pressure.
So where's the container for that's around the Earth?
Oh,
where's the container around the Earth?
Oh, that's your question, surely. That's the question That's the question we're trying to get you to ask yourself, Phil. That's the reality you've got to come to. And when you realise the implications, when you realise the fundamental implications of the statement you just made and how it applies to not us, but your paradigm, you'll be on your way, son, won't you? Hey.
You said that there must be a container. You said that yourself.
That's correct.
Do you deny
Where is it? You want me to show it to prove the necessary antecedent?
Yeah, I want to know where
it's a necessary antecedent. You know it's there, Phil. Yeah.
Where is your container? How far away?
Where's your bumhole? You can't see it.
You think that's clever, do you?
No, you think you're being Phil. You think you're being clever, right? With your false power. You think you're being clever. You're not. That's why I was being what's called wheel in retort to point out the silliness of your question to me. That's why I retorted like that. You understand that? That's called intelligent humour.
Is there a container or not?
It was to show the silliness of your question.
Yeah, there is a container.
Yes.
Good. All right, excellent. Now, how far away?
Sounds like you were trying to prove some sort of a container yourself before, right? You were saying this word gravity.
How far away is the edge?
Reality.
Oh. How far away is the edge of the universe, Phil?
Where is the evidence for the container?
The evidence is the gas pressure that we have here.
Yeah.
And how far away is this container?
Well, we don't have that measured. So the measured somebody has their mic open right now.
Has somebody
test one too?
Has anybody ever measured the distance to this container?
No.
I don't remember anybody making a claim to how far.
Nobody.
Whatever the fuck.
Nobody made a claim to that though. But there is a container because we have gas pressure.
But but I heard a claim before about gas literally reversing itself and coming back down due to something called gravity.
Where's the container between the top of the mountain and the bottom of the mountain?
There's like two sides of that coin, Chocolate. He's saying that some is escaping, 90 tons is escaping, but some of it is actually getting kicked back. Some's leaving, some staying. So it's not. This explanation was there is some leaving.
I told you you can accept it or not.
Yeah, he did say that.
Right.
He said they lose energy until gravity overtakes them. But the other ones that escape, they don't lose energy. How does that happen?
They're the what they call the Scotties, aren't they? Like from Star Trek, they're the Scotty molecules.
Yeah,
they're all the rest. They can't change the laws of physics. These ones can, apparently. A metric tonnage per day lost. What a load of income.
Yeah, Phil. Nobody made a claim as to where the container is. We just know. We live in a contained system because we have gas pressure, but that's not what you think, is it? Doesn't matter. We have gas pressure. That's the proof. We have a container. You, unfortunately, do not.
Evidence.
The evidence is the definition of gas pressure, Professor Phil. It's a necessary antecedent fact. So let's see if you can follow this, Professor Phil. Calm down and I'll explain it to you. Well, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Whose mic's open?
Yeah, exactly.
Whose mic is open?
The Himawari. The moon.
Hold on a second, Professor Phil. We're going to explain this.
400,000 kilometers away.
Hold on a second, Professor Phil. You said, where's the container? We don't have to worry about that. I'm going to explain it to you. You ready?
Sure. Love to hear where this container is.
Yes, it's a simple, consequent, necessary antecedent game. Just like filet mignon is the consequent, the necessary antecedent's the cow. You see, if it's already clearly established that to have filet mignon, cows must exist. So if someone slaps a filet mignon down on the table, then I know with absolute certainty that the cow exists without ever seeing or needing to see a cow or the data for the cow or the color of the cow or how long its tail is. Because it's a necessary antecedent. I'm not done yet, Professor Phil. You see, in this scenario, the gas and air pressure is the filet mignon and the container's the cow. Do you follow that, sir?
Yeah, such a straw man.
It's a straw man. How is it a straw man?
Fucking logic, dude. Are you fucking serious?
Totally unrelated.
You're like a fucking child and shit.
Wait,
Always
I
bringing
want to
your
hear.
dick
I want to
around.
hear how it's a straw man.
Total child.
Okay, how did he straw man? Like, what's it
Unrelated.
be?
Completely unrelated.
How is that?
That's not what a straw man is.
How is it?
Poor Professor Phil.
I thought you were a professor.
haven't
You don't
learned
understand
anything,
basic
Phil.
logical fallacies yet?
I want to know, where is the container?
Phil, can you tell us?
He
how
just
that
gave
was
you
a
the
straw man?
example. He gave you the example, like the filet mignon.
It was
Right,
absolute
so-
rubbish. Now, there's no
rubbish.
connection between two of those.
It's up there. How about that, right? It's up there, dude. Just like your gravity is down there. Yeah, it's up there. You happy?
No, it's
Can we
not.
move on?
No, it's not. It's over there.
It's over air.
Over there, there, over here, over there,
So
over there.
right. So he demonstrated to you that, you know, with the filet mignon example. Why was it difficult to understand that if we have gas pressure, we would have to have a container, Phil?
Could this container of yours,
Yeah.
could it be 100 million miles away?
That's
That's a nice
If you
claim.
want it to be, Phil, if
You're
you want it to
loaded.
be.
I'm just asking a question.
100
You just don't want to
Dumb
accept
questions,
that
bro.
you've been lied to, man. You just don't
Why
want
is
to
that a
accept
dumb
it
question?
because you have no reasons to not
No, I
believe
wanna know.
NASA.
Hold on.
Phil, here's a question.
Where did you
What is the
get that
necessary-
number from? My
That's
bad.
weird, huh?
Wesley. Go ahead, bro.
Phil, what is the
it
necessary
before
antecedent?
thermal?
Hey, Phil, what is the necessary antecedent to gas pressure?
Certainly not a container.
Cowbell.
Wait, let me ask you. That's a professor, dude. Someone's gonna need to get
Hold on.
refund on their tuition. This is crazy. What's the necessary antecedent to gas pressure?
Yes.
No.
That's the gas.
We need to get these sound bites, man.
Why
Hey,
is there a
Phil,
scared to
container?
say
what would
it,
you get
bro?
one of your students if they gave you that as an
No,
answer
man.
on one of their papers? Your mark. What do you give your student when they say, "What's the necessary antecedent
I would
to gas
never
pressure?"
ask that
And they say,
on my
"Gas."
paper.
Would you laugh at them, Phil?
All right. So
Would
what
you
we're
laugh
gonna
at
do?
your student?
So Adam, I think, can we let QE kind of go through this
Yeah.
gas pressure, because he brought this up, so I'd like for him to go through it for the audience, because the audience needs to hear this. Professor Phil made a statement that certainly not a container, and gas contains gas, but people need to hear this. I don't know. QE, did you want to go through this?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
All right.
can go through it. It's at 19 minutes after the hour. What we're going to do is we're just going to define what gas pressure is. So from the chemistry department at Elmhurst University, it says the pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container. From NASA, gas pressure. The molecules are in constant random motion and frequently collide with each other and with the walls of a container. Because the molecules are in motion, a gas will expand to fill the container. Since density is defined to be the mass divided by the volume, density depends directly on the size of the container in which a fixed mass of gas is confined. The last two are the heartbreakers for you because it comes right out and says exactly what the cause of gas pressure is. Kinetic molecular theory explained by Boyle's gas law. Observations about pressure may be explained using the following ideas. The rapid motion and collisions of the molecules with the walls of the container causes pressure. That's force on unit area. Pressure is proportional to the number of molecular collisions and the force of the collisions in a particular area. The more collisions of gas molecules with the walls, the higher the pressure. And lastly, Chem Libre text, gas pressure is caused by gas molecules hitting the walls of the container. With a smaller volume, the gas molecules will hit the walls more frequently, and so pressure increases. So when I say that to have gas pressure, the necessary antecedent is container, I mean that it's inside the definition of gas pressure. Thank you.
Very nicely done.
Thanks, QE.
Can you now go to the part that talks about the same thing with regards to atmospheric pressure, please?
Oh, atmospheric pressure is different than gas pressure?
Go ahead. Find some. Tell me
I'm
where.
asking you would there be a difference between gas pressure and atmospheric pressure?
Yes.
What's the difference between gas and atmo, which means air, which is gas?
So when we talk about atmospheric pressure, we're talking about the amount of newtons of force that's acting on.
No, sir. You're going to have to differentiate. I'm sorry, you're not going to do this. You're going to have to differentiate the difference between gas and atmospheric pressure, sir.
Do you know what the formula for
gas and atmospheric pressure? You said they were different. That is a law of identity violation.
But John, maybe Phil, John, maybe I could ask for a point of clarity then. So when we're talking about these two different pressures, Phil, when we're talking about gas pressure, we're talking about collision rate against the surface of the container or the sampler. Yeah. What's the difference when we're talking when we do that in the air and we have air pressure, atmospheric pressure? Are we using the same device and measuring the same amount of collisions?
Okay, so well, generally speaking, you would use a barometer, wouldn't you, to measure atmospheric pressure?
It's the same thing then.
Okay.
In terms of pressure, then it's the same thing. Within whatever measuring device you're using, it's the collision rate which equate to the surface of the container, because they become part of the container, just like me and you are part of the container. We're part of the surface area of the container, aren't we? So with that in mind then, what's the difference when we're measuring atmospheric or air pressure to any other type of pressure? Is there something different we're measuring, or are we just describing a difference in a kind of ideological way? Or are we just measuring the molecules in exactly the same way?
So you're measuring the amount of force.
Are we measuring the molecules in the same way? Measuring air pressure and gas pressure, do we measure the gas molecule behavior in the same way?
Yeah, so your instrument is
yes
obviously...
Or no?
He just asked you
yes
a question.
Or no?
So
I'm
just to move forward, Phil, because it's important.
I'm answering it.
Yes or no? Is it measuring the same thing, the behavior of gas molecules?
You can make up your mind after I've answered it.
So you're not prepared to answer something that simple?
Why don't you just accept that I'll answer it, and then you can make up your mind about whether I have answered.
Phil, I'm more happy for the viewers to listen on such a basic question that a professor isn't prepared to give a direct answer on that. It's quite telling, sir. Quite telling.
Are you going to be quiet for a second while I answer it?
Carry on.
Yeah, go
I am
go
now.
ahead, whistling
I'll
past
have humiliated
the
you. Yeah.
question.
Okay, so you'd use a barometer, which measures the amount of force, the amount of newtons in a particular area. And you'd use that. So that would generally be how you measure gas pressure anywhere.
What about atmospheric pressure?
Even atmospheric pressure.
So they're the same.
The instrument that you'd use would be the same, yes.
Yeah, because you're measuring gas pressure. What makes up the atmosphere? Does gases make up the atmosphere?
Yes.
Then gas pressure is atmospheric pressure.
Well, when you're talking about gas pressure inside a container, you're talking about...
No. Gas pressure and atmospheric pressure is the point. They're both the same.
I concede that, yes.
Okay. That's good.
Yep. Yes. So gas pressure and atmospheric pressure are the same. And the definition for gas pressure is it requires a container.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, you just contradicted yourself.
Yep. Because in the atmosphere, it doesn't require a container. Because
yes, it does, because it's gas pressure.
No.
Yes.
And if you want to talk about the containment, then gravity would be what you.
The gravity doesn't have anything to do with it. I can be close to the Earth.
Yes, it does.
Even if I had, let's go down this lane because this is going to be fun. So even if I gave you all of the Newtonian force of gravity that you can muster, I'll give it all to you. And then on top of it, I'm going to give you Einstein's bendy spacetime, all of the bendy spacetime times 1,000. Those factors will not affect the entropy of gases one iota.
Yes, they do.
Oh, yes. Really?
You're saying it doesn't make it right, and you have no.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Okay, which type of gravity are we talking about, Professor Phil?
You've got no standing to say either. And
What type of gravity are we talking about here? You said gravity. What type?
Just gravity.
Just gravity.
Just
You know
gravity.
there's two types, correct?
Oh.
There's the universal law of gravitation, which was superseded in 1915 by the general theory of relativity.
Yeah, there's people have different views about why gravity happens.
Okay, so what's the current understanding of gravity today?
The effect that you notice when you drop something, that's gravity.
The effect that we notice, what type is that? Are we talking about the general theory of relativity?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So how does gravity, I want the experiment showing when let's say we blow out, I'm not done yet.
You don't know
I'm
enough
not done yet, Phil.
For me
We're going to get to Einsteins here in a second. So let me ask you a question. Let's say you blow out your tire, right? And you go to Big Old Tire. I don't know if they have that down under, but you go to Big Old Tire. It's a commercial tire replacement here in the States. You go to Big Old Tire, but you notice you only got $5 in your pocket. So you holler at the technician. So you holler at the technician, and you don't have enough to pay for the tires. So you holler at the technician. You say, "Come on over here, man." You say, "Listen, I don't got enough cash right now. Can you just put the air pressure around the rim until I get home, and then I'll drive back with the cash for the tire?"
You thinking or something?
Oh. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense, does it?
I don't think that makes sense.
We're closest to the Earth. We're the closest to the Earth with our tire blowout, right? And the technician, he's right up against the Earth, man. He's right up against it. So the gravity, which you're talking about, should be the strongest. However, when he goes to put the air around the wheel without the tire, it doesn't stay there. Where does it go?
Why would it?
Well, that's my question to you. You're saying it's gravity. Wouldn't it expand to fill the volume?
What? You just said there was no tire.
Yeah, there's no tire, so it's not going to stay there.
So expand to what volume then?
Say, it's going to fill the volume of the garage.
Space.
No, of the garage in this particular example.
Yeah.
What volume?
So, but that's where the gravity is the strongest. So you'd figure it would at least stay on the bottom of the wheel, but it doesn't.
It has energy. You know that.
Oh, it had. Well, you said gravity just a couple seconds ago.
No, but gas molecules and particles have energy.
Oh, I know that. That wasn't in contention.
Well, then do you see the problem?
Yeah, I see the problem. Yeah, everyone sees the problem. We're not going to talk about how you should be institutionalized until later. We're talking about gas molecules, right, that are supposed to form around this tire because of gravity, at least at the bottom. I can understand the top getting away, but the bottom is the closest to the Earth where gravity is the strongest, but they don't stay there.
But they have energy that can overcome that.
Oh, there you go. Thanks for proving my argument.
There it is.
Ding, 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 welcome to Forest. Snaps in the back, Phil.
Wow. You just got teabagged.
And the bathroom's on the left, and DJ's on his way.
Not sure.
Wow.
QE, thank you. Yep. QE got 2 concessions so far.
Hey, can I
that's
ask
great.
him a question? Phil,
I do like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, go ahead. Floor is yours.
All right, Phil. If I have a container and it has gas in it, right, on the Earth, and I pull the lid off, what happens?
The gas will go out.
Okay.
Well, it depends on how much gas.
Let's try again. I got a container on the Earth. It's got gas in it. If I pull the lid off,
How much?
what happens?
Would you have more gas than the outside of the container or less?
All right, man.
Or
The
equal?
gas fills the space, okay? Because you remove the lid, right?
Did you hear what I said?
Matter. Sorry, Witsit.
Is the pressure in?
It doesn't matter if you've got
your container the same as the pressure outside your container.
You mean the pressure would equalise, Phil? That's the point he's making. You're agreeing that what would happen is equilibrium would be reached, yeah? Any differential in pressure would instantly be equilibrated, yeah? Because there is no longer a physical barrier, a container, you may say, yeah, to contain those two separate pressures.
In those local conditions,
as you beautifully described, it would equilibrate, yes.
Okay, so yeah, of course, outside of it has less pressure, Phil. Stop trying to divert and drag me through the mud. I'm going to try again. Hey, Professor Phil, if you're a professor, you should be a little bit more coherent than this, okay? So if we got a container on the surface of the Earth and it's filled with gas, and then I remove the lid, what happens?
How much gas was in it?
Oh, my God.
Is it true or is it not true that gases without a container or a broken container will find their equilibrium? Is that true or not?
Well, locally, yes, I agree. The gas would escape if there was more of it than the outside.
So we established that. Here's the follow-up. Okay, guys, like pulling teeth, dude.
Are we in primary school, Phil? More of it, if there was more of it. Do you mean if the pressure was greater inside the container than outside? Phil, you're the only one that sounds like a retard here, mate, or like somebody who's being educated. Don't try and patronise anybody else. Try and pretend in some way you're lowering your intellectual way of conversing. Yeah, it's quite clear here. It's quite clear here, Phil, that we're picking you up, son. So carry on.
No, you're not. You're acting like a bunch of idiots.
All right, here we go.
Don't worry about simple handouts.
I got simple, guys. It's simple, okay? It's just a follow-up. He's scared to hear it because I've handed this dude his ass 5 times already. So when we got the container on the surface of the Earth, it's got gas pressure in it, and I remove the lid, it will instantaneously fill the available space seeking equilibrium. So, Phil, if I have gas pressure on Earth with a container and I remove...
Stop.
I'm not done. So if I have gas pressure on the Earth and it's a container and I remove the lid, what would happen?
If you have a container on the Earth, let's say you've got a gas jar, for instance. That's got
Phil, if the gas pressure on the Earth had a container and I removed the lid, what would happen?
If the gas pressure had a container, you're talking. If the whole Earth was,
are you an idiot?
If the whole Earth was contained,
yes. If the gas pressure on Professor Phil, this is a conditional preface, right? If the gas pressure on the Earth is contained, okay? So we have a container holding the gas pressure on Earth. What would happen?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing will happen to the gas.
Your rice will be raw and not cooked thoroughly. That's what will happen.
Shout out to Betty.
Hold on. Didn't you just answer me when I asked you, would the gas find its equilibrium? And you said yes. And now you're saying nothing would happen if you broke the container.
Yeah, I said that. Who am I speaking to?
Bambi, sorry.
Okay, Bambi. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Bambi, when you're talking about something small, like a small container that's got some gas in it, and then that's got more gas in it than the outside of that container, and you open the lid, of course the gas will escape.
Yeah, it'll fill the available space.
Until it can't fill the available space. It'll go as far as its energy allows it to go. Let's say, for instance, I've got a liter. Container is a liter, and then I open up and let's say it's got enough pressure for equivalent to having 2 liters, let's say, of the outside gas, and I open it up. That gas that's in that 1 liter container will escape. It'll just escape to its surrounding area and bounce into other gas molecules that are in the area as well. It's not going to fill any container. It's just going to.
So
it's going to escape into the vacuum of space.
What container? What container?
So what's your container for us living next to a vacuum? What's your physical container?
There is no container, Bambi.
So you're having pressurized gas without a container?
It's not pressurized gas without a container. It's
You just said there's no container.
That's the opposite.
Do you want Bambi to finish her conversation or not?
No, she just decapitated you. We all heard it.
She's done nothing of the sort. My head is
you
still
just
on
contradicted yourself with back-to-back sentences, Phil.
You're a fool. My head is still on my shoulders.
Check again.
Do you agree with that or not?
I think it's on backwards.
Oh, look in the mirror.
I mean, the words you just said.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the words you said just contradicted your claim.
No, Bambi, it didn't. Bambi, there's no container above the earth.
Okay, so how do we have pressurized gas without a container?
Bambi, there's no container above the earth.
So how do we have pressurized gas without a container? If there's no container, how do we have
Bambi,
our gas?
For the same reason that the gas at the bottom of a mountain doesn't rush to fill the top of a mountain.
Yeah, it moves omnidirectional, doesn't it?
Gravity, Bambi. It's gravity.
What reason would that be, Phil?
I already explained it.
All right.
What's it?
Okay,
I'm gonna go have lunch.
I gotta. For one, you don't get the BS known as gravity. You just reify it. There's no physical empirical evidence of it at all. But we'll worry about that later. Do you agree that in your little paradigm brought to you by a Jesuit priest that gravity is strongest, closest to center of mass?
Yes.
Okay, so if gravity is strongest, closest to center of mass, would you agree that the closest to center of mass that we have attainable would be the surface?
Of course.
Okay, so if I let gas out at the surface where gravity is the strongest because it's closest to center of mass and it instantaneously seeks equilibrium with omnidirectional dispersal instantly, right? Then how could it be that it doesn't do that much further away from the center of mass where it's weaker?
Did you not understand this business about the energy as well that comes into it?
Hey, man, I'm going to try and ask you again, okay? If gravity is the strongest, closest to center of mass, and then the closest to center of mass that's attainable is actually on the surface, and then when we let gas out at the surface, it instantaneously seeks equilibrium with omnidirectional dispersal, how could that ever be prohibited from happening much further up above the surface, further away from the center of mass where it's much weaker?
There's always a fight between gravity and energy.
Do you think that just answered my question, Phil?
Yes, I think it did.
Okay, and you teach other people things?
If you have sufficient intellect, that should pretty much solidify it for you.
Actually, the velocity of the gas molecules is much higher up higher in the air, right?
No.
No, so you're saying that the gas particles move slower up higher in the atmosphere?
100%.
Okay, so they move
with the Earth.
They move slower at the up higher, so then gravity's able to contain it. Is that your claim?
You got it in one. Okay,
then how do tons and tons of gas ever escape then if they're not going any faster?
Because there are not every gas molecule doesn't have escape velocity.
So some of the gas does, some of the gas doesn't.
Gravity's we already been over. We already been over this, man.
Fair enough.
We've already been.
Yeah, that's when Adam teabagged him.
Okay.
No, but
I'm curious to what Professor Phil. What's the necessary antecedent for gas pressure?
We already been over this too.
We did that too.
Did you? Did he answer that?
I'm not interested in listening to what.
He said definitely not a container, and then QE read him about 30 citations and said it is a container.
Out of Nathan Oakley's Bible. I'm not interested.
Do you remember that?
Hold on. Atom. Fucking hell, he's not even here. What?